to another one of our Lords of Limited What's the Play series. My name is Ben Warney, one of the co-hosts of the Lords of Limited podcast, and we are going to dive into a quick What's the Play here. Set the stage first a little bit, let you see our deck. So we've got a base blue-black splash deck. We've got Laguna Band Storyteller for some loop-de-doops here with some blink shenanigans with Thassa, as well as, machine gunning things down with Blight-Breath Catoblepas. So deck is pretty powerful. And we are in round 1, game 2 against a mono black opponent. So here's the board state. As you can see, we're deep into the game here. This is turn 14, our opponent's turn. We have been being pressured, but we have finally stabilized. We've assembled the Blight-Breath Catoblepas Thassa machine gun tech. So right now, at the end of every turn, we are giving something on our opponent's side of the battlefield -4, -4. See, we've got 2 Thaumaturge's familiars here that are not in the main deck as well. So that's because our opponent has not 1, but 2, but 3 Scavenging Harpies. So just, I guess, sort of another little mini lesson there. After we saw 3 Scavenging Harpies, we were happy to bring in both Thaumaturge's familiars out of the sideboard. So it's opponent's turn here, and we're just trying to stabilize and ultimately, use our machine gun tech to kill Berserker Harpy and then win at our own leisure. So, opponent goes to take their turn, goes to combat, and attacks with this Rage-Scarred Berserker, and we have to decide what to do here. So we have several options. We could trade with Nyxborn Marauder. That seems fine. Ultimately, that makes our Blight-Breath Catoblepas quite a bit worse. We will only be shrinking things for -3, -3. Still good enough on the current board, but definitely not optimal, I think, to block with the Nyxborn Marauder here. If we take a look back at our deck, the only other permanents we've got are some single pips and another Nyxborn Marauder that I don't think is in our graveyard yet. So we have other ways to draw into black cards to make the Bleepas better if we wanted to. So we could block here. We also could block with Thaumaturge's Familiar, or we have the option to simply take 5. So as I was sitting here thinking, I was thinking, do I want to use my life total as a resource? Do I want to block? What do I want to do? Do I want to trade off this Nyxborn Marauder? And I think a card to keep in mind here that did go through my head is Grey Merchant of Asphodel. So it's one of the main reasons, I think one of the main incentives to be mono black in the format. And this is game 2. We've not seen a Grey Merchant of Asphodel from our opponent yet. But there's a world where we want to protect our life total, because even if they don't have it in hand, there's a reasonable chance they have a card like that in our deck, and if we let our life total drop to 5, we could just be dead to a card like that. Ultimately, I decided, since I hadn't seen it yet in Game 1, and Game 1 went fairly long also, that I wanted to try to use my life total as a resource here. So I ended up taking this. I'll show you what happens here, and then what I think the correct play is. So the opponent plays a Discordant Piper, and does, in fact, snap off the Grey Merchant of Asphodel, and we lose the game here. And I think, in hindsight, not even because they play the Grey Merchant of Asphodel, but just rewatching this game again, we're really far ahead here, right? We're facing down Berserker and Harpy. We have a way to deal with both of those cards on board, as well as a way to deal with future cards. We can tap things down with Thassa. We have 1000% control of this game. And I think, a lesson to take away from this is, the further behind you are in a game, the more risks you want to take in a game of Magic to try to get back into the game. And the further ahead you are, the more conservatively you want to play. And I think, we definitely are supposed to block here, whether it's with the Nyxborn Marauder or the Thaumaturge's Familiar. And honestly, I think, now that I'm looking back at it, I do like the idea of keeping Nyxborn Marauder around to keep the -5, -5 loop with Thassa going. This Thaumaturge's Familiar is not going to pressure our opponent much. We still have the 1 to hold back the Scavenging Harpy, so I think it's just fairly fine and free here to chump with Thaumaturge's Familiar, keep our life total out of Grey Merchant of Asphodel range, and ultimately stabilize and take control of the game from here. So I think I made a mistake in trying to use my life total as a resource, knowing that there was a possibility of a card like Grey Merchant of Asphodel in the opponent's deck. And it's even more funny that I did think about it, and I talked about it literally on stream, and then my opponent snapped it off. As well as, if we let this video play a little further, you see they send me you can't see that. They send me a chat message that says, yep, that happened. So Congrats to you, Meddling Pest, and I think a good takeaway from this is the sideboarding, certainly against the Scavenging Harpies, as well as the further ahead you are or the more stable you are, the less risky you want to be with something like your life total. Just try to cut down on your opponent's outs more and more and more. So thank you very much for watching, and as a reminder, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment in the comment section on what you would have done in the heat of battle, and let me know what you think. Thanks everybody for stopping by, and we will see you again for another What's the Play?